Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have from Wellfleet on the Cape in Massachusetts. We have a wonderful author. Her name is Alice Iacuessa. I said it right. My voice sounds a little funny. We were out for a couple of weeks with, I guess it's the flu that's going around, so a little croaking, a little cough, but I'm okay. Alice, this is terrific. She has written the two books that I have here, Murder at Thoreau Pond and Body in the Bog Bay. These are Cape Cod mysteries. Can you zero in? Did you choose the covers?
Actually, there were some suggestions in the covers, and my husband is the one who chose them. And he did the pictures.
He did it?
Yeah.
Well, the picture of you on the back doesn't do you justice. It doesn't do you. Did you get them? Okay. At all. Because when you meet her in person, I don't know. Who took your picture?
I don't even remember. I think that was just one of those maybe passport-type pictures.
Yeah, because I love your haircut, and it was adorable. Now, when did you start writing?
Well, you know, when I was growing up, I had two sisters, and they were both very good in sports. Matter of fact, they both ended up majoring in PE, and I was the English major.
Oh, yeah.
And while they were outside playing, I was hiding in the attic reading. And I always wanted to write, and I always wanted to write a mystery. And I probably started several little books over the years. Yeah. And then I never had time. And then I retired. My husband had a job in Luxembourg, and I had some time on my hands.
Luxembourg, Germany?
Luxembourg, the country of Germany. I mean, the country of Luxembourg.
Okay, all right.
It's
Is
right
it near
next.
Germany?
It's near Germany. It's about the size of Rhode Island.
You
So
moved
it's
from
very-
the United
London.
States to Luxembourg?
No, I moved from the United States in the 1972. We moved from the United States to Frankfurt, Germany,
Oh, my God.
and lived there for 6 years and worked with the Department of Defense schools.
Yeah.
So we were sort of part of the Cold War effort.
Yeah.
And then we had heard about international schools and said, where would we like to live? And we said London. And we were very fortunate to get jobs at the American School in London. It's very difficult to get a job there. And we were there for over 20 years. And one of the years there, we took a leave of absence and went to Caracas, Venezuela, and taught at Escuela Campo Alegre. And I don't even know if that exists today with all the difficulties down there.
Yeah.
And then I retired.
You were
My
teaching,
husband-
right?
I was teaching.
What were you teaching?
I was teaching history. I was an English major, but I taught history.
Wow.
And then I retired, and my husband had a job at the Luxembourg International School.
Yeah.
And so we moved there, and I thought it was going to be for a year. It became 6 years. I had a wonderful time there. We talked about how I learned to speak French there because I went to school on a regular basis, and I had some time to write. So I was, in one of the books it says I was sitting at the rocking chairs in Logan,
Yes.
thinking, oh, maybe I should write a book. And that's when I started to say to myself, write what you know. So some people say the characters are my family. Well, they're not, but you know, I'm writing about an area I know. I'm writing about London a bit. I'm writing about Oyster Town, which is Wellfleet, a bit. And so that just inspired me, and I sat down and I started to write.
So Oyster Town definitely exists.
It doesn't. It's not a real town. It sort of is modeled on Wellfleet, but not exactly.
Okay, I found it. This book, this is the one, Murder at Thoreau Pond.
Yeah.
This book is dedicated to the rocking chairs in the International Departure Lounge at Terminal E Logan Airport, where it all began. I don't think I've even been to Logan.
Yeah.
I won't get on a flying coffin. You can't get me on. You guys are amazing.
Yeah.
When did you come back to live in the States?
Well, we aren't totally back here. My husband retired in 2006, and we came back, but we kept our flat in London. So we go to London 4 months of the year.
So you're gone like over our winter?
Yes, we go January till May, and we're thinking of spending more time there. I love Wellfleet, but the city is wonderful.
You like London a little bit?
I love London.
Do you think you're going to stay?
Well, you know, we're fortunate because we're there long enough. We both have British citizenship.
Yeah.
I mean, they have their problems now with Brexit, but we're in the national health system, so I don't have to worry about any kind of health situation if we're there because I have a GP.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could live there without any difficulty.
Well, okay, we are talking with Alice Iacuessa, and she has written Cape Cod Mysteries, Murder at Thoreau Pond, which I'm going through, and don't tell me the ending. Body in Bog Bay. When did you start these?
Both of them took me over 3 years to write because I'd start and stop.
Yeah.
So I probably started the first one in 2000 and it finished in 2003.
Yeah.
And the other one I probably started maybe 2017 and I finished, no, not 2017, 2007 I think, and finished in 2009.
Do you belong to any writers groups up
No,
there?
I don't.
You
You know,
don't.
I did have a neighbor. I was in London doing some of the writing, and I would email him, with an attachment,
Yeah.
chapters,
Yeah.
and he would read it and make suggestions, and he mailed it back.
So he
And
kind of edited it as a
yes,
friend.
yeah, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
without going into the ending, tell us about, well, which one came first? Body and...
Murder at Thoreau
Okay, this is
Pond.
the one I'm involved in right now.
Yeah.
Who done it? Murder at Thoreau Pond on the Cape. Now, your husband chose the truck, right?
Yes.
The-
And the truck is actually a very iconic truck for Wellfleet at the time. It's a little bit of a sad story, but there was a very popular young man in Wellfleet, and he was in the 4th of July parade with his gang dressed as pirates, and afterwards they were all happy. It was a beautiful day, and he was on a skateboard, and he grabbed onto a car or something, and as it was going through he fell, and he hit his head, and he has some brain damage. And my neighbor inherited the truck,
Yeah.
and so we took a picture of the truck. So people in town knew that truck. When they saw that picture, they knew who that belonged to. So it was kind of a bit in
Fits
honor
right
of him.
in.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
perfect. And the one on the body in the bog bag.
Yeah.
Who posed for the dead body?
I did.
That was you?
I did.
I
In
don't
the
think you
middle
can
of
see it.
December. In the middle of December.
I don't think you can see it, but, well, actually, it's our author. It's our dead body at the bay. Who took that picture? Your hubby?
My husband.
Oh, my God. Okay, so briefly, what is this one about without telling us the end?
Well, it's about a couple who have a summer home in Oyster Town, and they have a son who's a reporter, and his somewhat girlfriend is the chief of police, and there is a oysterman who has been murdered, and they are investigating. And the interesting thing about writing is that you really have to be careful who your characters are, especially if you're going to do a sequel, because you're stuck with them.
Yeah.
You know, and you can kill off a few of them, but you can't kill off all of them.
No, you need the main people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they take on a life of their own. I'm sure authors have told you that before,
Yeah.
but I would be writing, and the characters they do things that I don't expect them to do, but they have to do because I've kind of brought them into a personality, and then so it's like the son is a somewhat girlfriend, the chief of police, and she's a good character because she's friends with the couple, and
Yep.
they find out more information because she's the chief of police.
Hannah and Martin Brewster are
Right.
the... Now, it says about... Well, she was skinny dipping.
Yeah.
And they were kidding about elderly lady found.
Yeah.
How old? I can't picture. How old is Hannah supposed to be in Martin?
Well, let's say
What's elderly? I mean, you know.
Well, the I think the elderly was kidding. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The son is roughly. It said he's not quite 30.
Yeah.
So if you add 30, it could be in their
50,
50s,
60, okay.
60s,
That
that
type of
kind of thing. Yeah.
I
yeah.
Now, when I was reading this, I don't know Alice. It's the first time I've met her, but I kept thinking, is this something like kind of based on you and your husband?
Well, I don't know if I sent you. Did I send you the review from the
I
banner?
don't remember.
Okay. The woman who reviewed it she shouldn't have written as much as she did. I mean, she gave me a full page.
I remember, yeah, very
full
long.
page.
Yeah, right.
And she really did it because good old Marilyn is just an old friend, and I mean, there are really world-known
Yeah.
authors in Wellfleet. I mean, these are just beach mysteries.
Yeah.
But anyway, you asked something and I forgot what the...
It was based kind of on yours and your
Oh,
husband.
yes. And so she nicely writes that it's not, Alice says it's not based on them. However, people who know them know that there's some similarities.
Had a feeling. But you're living in Wellfleet,
Right.
and now Oyster Town
Right.
is basically Wellfleet.
Right.
Don't shortchange. These are doable. Now, I had asked Alice when she came in, how the heck did I hear from her? I was at a library book sale. I'm pretty sure it was in Westboro.
Mm-hmm.
I love library books. Oh my God, they go through those. They don't just put junk out. They put
yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw these books, and I thought, who is this? Because I know a lot of authors,
Yeah.
and I said, how adorable. I used to live in the Cape with
Yeah.
my parents. I grabbed them, and then I got in touch with you. That was, 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Because I was still in London.
Yeah, that's right. We had to wait for you to come back.
Right.
All right, so the next one. So that was Murder at Thoreau Pond. Okay, that's the one I'm in. The next was in Body in Bog Bay with our friend Alice here, dead, lying here.
Yeah.
Briefly, what's that one about?
Well, that's about the woman who is dead is a woman who's returned to Oystertown after being away for a number of years, and she's kind of an oddball character. And that one takes us a bit to London, where a lot of the clues are found. And it takes us also to my hometown in Western Mass,
Yep.
which I call Plunkett rather than Adams.
Yeah.
So it has 3 settings to it.
You grew
Yeah.
up in Adams.
Yes.
That's close to the New York border?
Yes, the Adams, North Adams, Williamstown, and then that's the Vermont.
Yeah, you're
border,
closer to
but
Vermont.
Vermont.
Now, I grew up in Wilbraham, and you were even thinking of going to Wilbraham.
Yes, because my husband worked for Monsanto for a year and a half.
Was Monsanto in Springfield?
It was in not Springfield. I'm trying to think.
Long Meadow?
It was
Palmer?
near one of those towns in
One of
there. I
those
don't
in there.
remember exactly.
Yeah, it's. I know we went back for one of my high school reunions
Yeah.
not too long ago, and it's been. I don't know if I've ever been back to Wilbraham where I went to school, but as we were going down Route 20,
Yeah.
I began to see the hills become looking like mountains,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God! I felt like I was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It's
I'm
God's
so close
country.
to the city
Yeah,
here.
it's God's country out there.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
You know Brimfield?
Yes, I do.
I went to camp, I remember, up in
Okay.
the Brimfield way.
Yeah.
Now, what is coming next?
Well, as I told you, what happened is it took me so long to write those books, and then we settled a bit more in Wellfleet than we had before, so we were there 6, 7, 8 months, and got involved in all kinds of town committees. I mean, I was head of the Wellfleet non-resident taxpayers, and then I volunteered at the thrift shop, and I became president of that, and then I got on the Marine Advisory Committee. Got very involved, so the writing stopped. Then I joined the board of the Friends of the Herring River, which is a big restoration project. And the board asked 2 scientists and myself to write a history of the Herring River.
Yeah.
And so that took a good bit of time.
Sure.
The 2 scientists, it was very interesting writing with 2 different people and writing with scientists,
Right.
because they were very particular. They were very careful about every little thing that was in there.
Perfectionist.
Absolutely. And they wrote all the bits on the science, the geology, and I wrote about the people and the head who had lived there.
Right.
And the hardest thing for me was that I had to write about the Native Americans, and I had to do a lot of research. But I got a lot of help from the National Seashore, and the historian read it, so it would be, correct as far as Native American history. So that took me away from my mysteries.
That's after these 2.
After those 2.
So, all right, now you're away from that. I'm going to get her. What's coming next?
Well, I don't know. It was after you called, and then after I read Marilyn's reviews, and actually one of the reviews I was telling Marilyn I had some ideas.
Yeah.
And now they're percolating again.
Good.
So yeah.
even if, I hope you don't leave, but if you go to London,
Yeah.
you would come back too?
Oh yes. We have sisters that live here. So
Were
we
you
would
a
come back.
youngest in your family?
Middle.
You were
Middle.
how many?
2 sisters. I'm the middle of 2.
So your father had 3 daughters.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Did he ever get in the bathroom?
Well, unfortunately, my father passed away when he was 43.
What happened?
So he had cancer. But my mother passed away last year at 103.
Oh my gosh.
Healthy till the last. She had a stroke in the middle of the night. And
103.
the day before, she was sitting by the pool talking to people on the phone. So, yeah.
You've got excellent, I have excellent longevity on one side too.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like this.
Yeah.
I read the obits, and more you're seeing 90s,
Oh,
100s.
absolutely.
But then what I don't like,
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. It jumps down to 60s,
Yeah.
50s. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. I think if you can avoid some of the diseases, you have a chance to really go into the 90s, if not even
Well, we got a
100.
great medical system. I mean,
Yeah.
my mother's father at 30 died of pneumonia. He
Yeah.
wouldn't die of that probably today.
Absolutely not.
How can people get a hold of your books, Alice?
Well, that's interesting. I do have them. My husband brings them to a few bookstores in the Wellfleet, in the Cape Cod area, because they call every summer because they want them on the shelves. But also you can get them through Amazon.com. And interestingly, I have had friends who've ordered it in Luxembourg, and they get it from France, Amazon.com. FR, and I've had some friends get it through the German Amazon, and I've had friends get it through the UK Amazon. So you can get it through Amazon.com.
Okay, so you can. Have you presented anywhere in Massachusetts?
I presented on the Cape. I did a book talk at the South Wellfleet
Library?
Well, yes, it's a library, but it's more of a neighborhood association.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did you do well?
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine you not.
No, and there was some interesting. I was able to find some really interesting pieces to read that really piqued people's curiosity without giving away the stories. And
so would the anything coming up be like a series coming up?
Well, as many people know, if you go to a library and you look in the mystery sections, and there are mysteries by the same person, and they're generally of this type of genre, people are as interested in the characters as they are the mystery.
Yes.
And
also Cape Cod.
Yes, and so if I would sit down and force myself to write, I could have, a series of books like that.
Definitely, I can see that.
Yeah, and one of the things I said in this article that Marilyn had written was that the son, Jeff, lives near Bayberry Inn. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, well, I should get Bayberry Inn is for sale. I get a new person that owns it, so I have to make sure that character is somebody who stays. Mm-hmm. But then I have a whole group of characters that come and go because they're staying at the inn.
Yep.
So I can use those as possible suspect or murder victims or whatever.
So you've already got it.
Yeah,
you do.
Yes.
So
now you started me again.
When I see something like this, I'm so used to getting my authors out there. I'm like, where has she been?
Yeah.
I've never seen them before.
Yeah.
Do you have them out at libraries in the?
Yes, they're in the library system on the Cape because they have that clams collection, so you can get it in any library.
Do you happen to know Glenn Ickler? Hello, Glenn. He is our resident, let's say, Hopedale whodunit. He lives up in Hopedale.
Right.
He's from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And he writes a series of two characters who are always out there solving a mystery.
Yeah.
And he's probably right now on Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
It seems like he pumps one out every year.
Yeah,
the man is in his 80s.
Yeah.
You never know it.
You have to discipline. Well, I have to discipline myself to sit down and write. And as I said, I'm still involved in a lot of things, and so I just don't discipline myself.
Well, you're very talented. Don't give up on this, okay?
All right.
You should, jeepers. I mean,
Well, if I write another one, I will dedicate it to you.
Well, you've got to do it. We're talking again with Alice Iacuessa, and she's the author of Cape Cod Mysteries, Murder at Thoreau Pond, and Body in Bog Bay. Where's Bog Bay?
Bog Bay is actually an old name for Logie Bay, which is part of Blackfish Creek.
Okay.
And Blackfish Creek I use as Grampus Bay, because another word for blackfish is Grampus, and on the old maps you can see Grampus Bay and Bog Bay. So I did some historical research. I didn't want to, you want to change it a bit, and so I gave it the old names that were on the old maps.
Are those Indian names, Grampus?
Grampus, I think, might be an Indian name.
Might be an Indian.
Yeah.
How many minutes away is Wellfleet from South Yarmouth?
About 30 minutes.
You're heading up for Provincetown.
Uh-huh.
Well, I remember when I was maybe 19, 20, I felt like a big girl. I guess I had one of Mom and Dad's cars.
Yeah.
It was a big deal to me to take it and go up to Provincetown and stay overnight, one night in a motel, and get to shop, and then go to the beach. But I came home.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal. It was a long trip at night.
Yeah.
Well, for me at 19.
Yeah, that was a long trip. And it's actually interesting because I volunteer at the National Seashore, which is in Easton, Massachusetts.
I've been there.
And in the winter, people get to us and they're almost afraid to keep going. Like, are there gas stations? Are there restaurants?
There are.
They really feel like once they leave Orleans, there's not much afterwards.
And they're definitely no worries.
Yeah.
Were you affected by that? Right, recently there was a big storm?
We were not affected by it, but Harwich, which is closer to Dennis, had 2 tornadoes touch down, and I think it was more than 100-mile-an-hour winds.
It was on the news. They were showing up
Of trees.
Some car got...
Yeah. Apparently, it was really terrible. My sister lives in Harwich. She was without power for, a number of hours.
Yeah.
But
what was this main drag in Harwichport? Dad used to take us to, those little racer cars?
Yeah.
Are they still there?
They are still there. They are still there.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's Route. Was it 28?
628.
28.
Harwichport. I was the only girl cousin, and I had to compete with two boy cousins.
Yeah.
We get on those things. At first, I was too little, so I rode in Dad's lap.
Yeah.
And he gave me the spirit to go get him.
Yeah.
And I would go around those corners like on two wheels.
Well, you'll have to go back and visit. Because some of the old spots are definitely still there.
They're still, in other words, I could take my son's little, they're too
You
little.
could.
But when they get older, take them and say, all right,
Absolutely.
guys, it's time to really get down to business. Did you
Absolutely.
ride them yourself?
I can remember, I didn't ride them, but I can remember taking my son to ride them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have one son.
One son.
And he does what now?
Well, he does a lot of things. He majored in journalism for Boston University. He worked for newspapers.
Yeah.
Then he got a master's in fine arts in California. And he's living in California, and he writes, he does music, and neither one of them really gives him much of a social aspect.
Yeah.
So about a year ago, he took a job doing, it's hard for me to describe, he organizes games for the Catholic League, so that if they're having a basketball game, he has to make sure the refs are there, and that gives him some social contact.
That's pretty neat.
Because he doesn't have that.
Not like a fundraiser, but he's an event planner, right?
Yes, like that.
That must be a lot of fun. Get to meet different people.
Yes, and that's partly. I mean, partly he's a bohemian and he needs the money,
Good for him, yeah.
But I think he mainly did it for the social aspect, because the other jobs do not do that.
Do you see him very much if he's in California?
Well, we went out to New Zealand last year for 2 months, and we stopped to see him on the way and on the way back.
Yeah.
And he just flew in this morning, and he'll spend a month with us. So
he's there.
Yeah, he just flew in this morning. As a matter of fact, I was going out the door, and we said hi, bye.
Bye. Oh, that's quick. Well, hi out there to your son. Again, we're talking with Alice Iacuessa, and she has written 2 books that, I wish was more out there. Cape Cod Mystery. Those of you who've been to Cape Cod, probably a lot of you, maybe a place like we had a summer cottage there, the family. Murder at Thoreau Pond and Body in Bog Bay. If you were going to write the next one, do you know of a title?
Usually I don't come up with the title till I'm finished. Because I'm not absolutely certain what is going to be the what would focus people,
Sure.
and so I usually don't. As a matter of fact, sometimes the one on the Body in Bog Bay, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to be able to solve this murder.
Yeah.
I got myself into it.
And now how do I get out?
And then how do I get out? Yeah.
What did you? How did you have to think about it?
I had to really think. Rethink, and then I plotted a couple things and what worked and what didn't work, and then what was very interesting was I wrote it and I included, like I said, part of my hometown, and I included a lot of little stories in there about what my friends and myself did when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, wasn't my class reunion that year, and hadn't people got a hold of it, and they loved it. They all wanted it. They all wanted it because it included, a little bit about their childhood, and it included the ponds up in the woods above Adams, and so people really wanted to read it.
I know my parents, when I lived with them in South Yarmouth, they lived on off of Cranberry Lane or on Cranberry Lane. Well, obviously, they were near the cranberry bogs.
Yeah.
I got to learn a little bit, like what we were sharing beforehand. I was in my 20s, single, and it was, if you hadn't made a lot of friends before the season was over, you were in trouble.
Yes.
If you were the seniors were doing great, but those of us who were still young and single, so I guess I gave it about a couple of months, and I said, bye.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad went back to Stamford, Connecticut, the city back down there. I don't think my father was too pleased with me leaving, but I left. And got that out of my system, too.
Yeah.
And then they moved to Bridgewater, Mass.
Okay.
Ooh, I was kind of like, I'd go away for a few years, come back, go away, like a little gypsy. Did you do that, too?
No. See, I married young, so...
Oh, that's right, you got
I married very young, and we went to school, and we just were pretty independent. And actually, it was fairly easy to be independent because my father passed away at 43, and my mother was a widow for 10 years and gave all her attention to her daughters.
Yeah.
And then I was married, my sisters were in college, and all of a sudden she just sort of decided that she was going to have a life, and she met my stepfather, and my stepfather and my father had played on the only undefeated UMass basketball team. So my mother
Amherst?
in Amherst.
Yeah.
So my mother kind of knew him from way back when,
Right.
and so she remarried, and she had a life now of her own. So if I did what I wanted to do, there was no mother looking over my shoulder, because she looked over my shoulder all those years, and now she was going to have a life.
Now, how old were you when she decided she was going to go different ways?
She was. I was. Let me think. I would have been. Let me see. She was 53. I must have been in my. Let me see. She was. I'm terrible at math. So if
Okay,
she
me
was
too.
53, if you subtract her, I was about 23.
Okay,
yes,
you were
I was
grown.
23.
You were grown. She
Yes,
didn't
yes.
leave the nest. Okay.
Right.
You were
Right.
grown.
And my sister was 20 and in college.
Okay.
And
she
my
was
sister
smart.
was
She okay.
older.
My girls are grown.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
going out.
Yep.
And she just passed it, 103.
Yeah.
I think this is awesome. I'm hoping to at least make it to 100. How about
Yeah.
you? You want to go Dr. Wade?
Well, if I can do it the way my mother did, it's with her health and still interested in life and feeling well, and having. I mean, my stepfather had 5 children and had a whole other family, and she embraced all of that. As a matter of fact, one of my stepsisters lives in Milford.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got a big family now.
Yeah.
Now, we got to find a way to get this fantastic author out this way and get these books out. We've got about 2 minutes left. Alice, again, how can they get your book?
Well, you can, like I said earlier, that you can get the books from a number of bookstores on the Cape, on the Outer Cape, but the safest way to get it is to go to Amazon.com and go look for either my last name or the names of the books, and they are there.
Iacuessa, Alice Iacuessa. It sounds like she instructed me. The C sounds like a Q.
Q, that's
Beautiful.
right.
What is that?
It's an Italian name, and it's from the Naples area. And I know a man in Orleans who's Italian, and when I go in, he goes, he pronounces it the Italian way. Iacuessa. All you Ias are from Napoli. Ianelli and Iacoco, and you're
Is
all
that
from
Southern Italy? Is it-
all from Naples. He says you're
is
all
that
from Napoli, from
Southern part
Naples.
of it,
Yeah.
right? Sicilian?
No.
This
On
is
the,
on
on the
the-
mainland. On the mainland.
By the way,
Yeah.
did you happen to bring a couple of copies with you?
I did.
Good, because guess what? You're going to downstairs in the Upton Library. There's tons of people around here who love Cape Cod.
Okay.
You write in Worcester County, Metro West, Blackstone Valley. You are in a big section
Yes.
where people.
Yes.
Off they go to the Cape.
Yes.
Cape Cod Mysteries. Alice Iacuessa. Go downstairs at the Upton Town Library. I mean, besides going online, pick up those copies over in the local artist section, authors section, and going to have a ball. I'm a slow reader, and when I get a pile, I try to give everybody a fair shot. I am partway through Murder at Throw Pond, and I'm already hooked. When I saw these at that book sale, I'm like, where? Like I said, where has she been? You got to keep these coming.
I will.
Really?
I will.
Okay? You got a big audience out there. All right?
Yep.
Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
We'll see you next time and be my guest.